but let me go to thee, my very life I owe. Oh, hold me in thine arms of light. May angels guard me through the night, in peace beyond all care. And as the sunrise and the dawn come stealing o'er earth and beyond, we'll see my spirit rise to be, with truth sealed for eternity, in purity from thee. As love flows forth to bless mankind,
and comfort Jesus' heart and mind,
to God my grateful praise shall be, for teaching me Christ mastery, hence freedom from all strife. And now that I am one with thee, still let me serve to set light free, thy way divine to others show, to see this planet here below as it was meant to be.
Del verde más intenso es la llama curativa. Totalmente serena yo soy la presencia divina. A través de mí vierte tu misericordia, que ahora la verdad todo lo corrija. Milagro de la llama de consagración, que mi mente medite ahora en ti. Para mi hermano un servicio mejor, y la plenitud de todo tu poder. Curación de la llama de consagración, mantén mi ser de curación colmado. La misericordia sella a todos mis hermanos, por la gracia del deseo de Dios.
This is the coming revolution in higher consciousness. Listen now to Elizabeth Clare Prophet, educator, author, and authority on the most exciting story of our time, the coming revolution in higher consciousness.
Perhaps you are familiar with various sorts of healers who come in the name of Jesus. We have wonderful people in the ministry in the United States, and I'm certain you do here, who do come and call forth healings that are instantaneous in people. They walk away and they leave their crutches and so forth. The path of the Ascended Master's teachings is not in this manner, so I would like to explain to you their teaching on healing. First of all, the office that I hold is one which involves the bearing of the karma of the evolutions of Earth, as opposed to taking on the individual karma of any individual people. When Jesus healed, he often took on the karma or the cause of the disease itself and carried it for that person. Under the Ascended Masters with whom I serve, Jesus and Saint Germain and El Moria, I am not permitted to take on your karma and to give you then the light for the establishment of your physical wholeness. This is a path for the sons and daughters of God, whereby you study the teachings, you apply the science of the spoken word, and you win your own ascension by good words and good works, and by the grace of God, who does reward all who diligently seek him. This is the path of individual Christhood as Jesus walked it. So so you are no longer merely followers of Christ, but you are engaged in the mighty work of the ages of becoming the fullness of your Christ self. Now, the role that I can play is as an intermediary for the increase and intensification of the coalescing of the light which you invoke in the cells of your being for specific areas of healing. And of course, you are chelas of the Ascended Masters, and you may associate yourself with any one master of your desiring. If Jesus is your master, that is fine. If you desire to pursue Jesus and his path by studying with Saint Germain or El Moria, they have very fine schools, and they take you while your bodies sleep at night to their etheric retreats. The etheric octave is just as real as the physical, and in fact more so. It is the permanent place of the soul's habitation between lifetimes, unless of course that soul is working out a heavy karma and must abide in lower octaves than the etheric. So when we go to sleep at night, we ask to be taken to the Royal Teton Retreat, where classes are conducted, and that is at the Grand Teton at Jackson Hole, Wyoming in the United States. Or we ask to be taken to El Moria's retreat, which is at Darjeeling, India, the retreat of Serapis Bey on the etheric octave at Luxor, Egypt. There are very important focuses of light on the etheric plane, and schools, and even etheric cities. There are 7 major etheric cities that are in that etheric octave, where golden ages are in progress, and where we go to study, and where we may live between incarnations. And so when we say, "Thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven," it truly does exist, and the city Foursquare that was seen by John the Beloved was actually the city of the resurrection that is in the etheric plane over the Holy Land. And so here then, our entire purpose in life is to draw down heaven, or the realm of the etheric plane, into the physical. And when these become congruent, we see heaven on earth. And when there is that perfect acceleration of the light within us, our destiny fulfilled, our karma balanced, we return to the higher octaves of light, whence we descended. And we descended because we asked God for free will. We asked him to go forth independent of merely taking on his will without cognition, without awareness. And so we went into these realms of free will, and we made a number of decisions that were not in keeping with the divine blueprint. We got ourselves embroiled with karma. We reacted to the actions of the fallen angels who came as false pastors, false teachers, and they, in their prowess and in their determination to lead the children of the light astray, did so. They taught mankind sorcery, all manner of misuse of the sacred fire. They taught them war and the implements of war, and they, in their great rivalries, these are the fallen angels now, amassed mankind on opposing sides to defend them in their quests for ongoing power and who would dominate the evolutions of Earth. So mankind had even been subject to the experimentations of the fallen ones in genetic engineering on Atlantis and in the last days of Lemuria, and therefore we find on Earth the remnants of these experiments, and we find that there has been a concerted effort by the fallen angels to limit the capacity of ourselves to perceive spiritual knowledge by limiting the capacity of the brain itself. I bring all these things to your attention merely by way of acquainting you with the fact that Earth has a very, very long history. 500,000 years is recent history. It goes back millions of years. And some of us have been here a very long time, figuring our way out of the dilemma that we got into because we left that etheric octave on a quest for a newfound freedom, and then got embroiled in minds much more clever than our own. What we find today is that we have a Christ mind, we have a Holy Christ self, and this presence with us is our true mind and our true reality. We are all Christed ones, light bearers from the beginning, separating ourselves out, being educated in the mental body and the intellect, functioning through the emotions and the physical body. We lose contact with that higher consciousness, and therefore we do not perceive the higher worlds. Our chakras become clogged because of the diets that we are programmed to believe in from the time we are born, and the pollutions and so forth. So now we seek healing, and that healing has a goal. It is not merely the alleviation of the suffering of the body, but it is the balance of the causes. And so we come to that age of accountability that I was speaking of last night, where the book of this knowledge of the history of ourselves becomes sweet in the mouth, but it is bitter in the belly when we take upon ourselves the understanding of having to go through the threads of previous incarnations to change consciousness, to bless life, to resolve problems in order to have that wholeness we are seeking. The final effect of that wholeness, the spiritual wholeness, is the raising of the physical body as well. So you must remember that none of us is God in the sense of being the Almighty, the least of whom myself, and therefore I am not one who can set aside your karma or command the light to descend and interfere with the outpicturing of karmic law. Why is there karma? Karma comes as a lesson. We never know why something is wrong unless we see the effects of it in our lives. We do not know that anger is wrong except through its repetition. We realize that we're destroying ourselves or our loved ones, or we may have a stroke or a heart attack for this continuation of this manifestation. And so then we have to make a choice. Do we want our anger more than we want love and God and the ability to bless life? So most of the time we don't give up our preferences and our independence unless something greater depends upon it. And that many times is our survival or the survival of someone we love dearly. When it comes to the world, if we want the world to be healed and we want to stop nuclear war, we have to set aside some of our indulgences and give our time to calling forth the violet flame, because the only way this world is going to survive is through that flame of freedom and the transmutation of these conditions that we're facing. So if you want healing, you have to change your diet. You have to understand that Jesus prescribed prayer and fasting. There are very scientific ways to pursue fasting for various conditions, and you are exposed to the things we have brought together in the arts of healing. I know that even in my personal life, unless there's a very strong reason to do so, I may not be fasting, or I may not exactly be watching my diet. But when the call comes to manifest an extraordinary service or to lighten my life, then there is a reason, and the reason for me is to be able to help other people. Only the love of God in a very intense and personal way as love for one another makes us give up a certain way of living that is kind of dense and laid back, and it doesn't require us to focus and really go after the spiritual light and get into the deeper things of God. I have never seen any power able to move anyone except that love. When you come up against an ingrained smoking habit or a habit of drugs or alcohol, something which is pleasurable, which you can't really see any harm in if you do it in a certain measured way that is not too heavy. It takes something very severe or something that is a very great calling to make you set it aside just for the love of God or the love of one's friend, the love of one's beloved or one's child. So I would like you to see that our karmic lessons are here to teach us that when we sow in discord and in harmony, we reap the fruits. And when that inharmony goes out into the world, many more people than ourselves are affected by it. So basically this becomes the problem of world disease and the last plagues today. Now God does not want us to live in this condition. He did not create human suffering or wars or these burdens. We did it, and we have to understand the law of octaves. God has explained to us that because we asked for and demanded free will, He gave us a habitation, time and space, this planet and other planets we have lived on, even the physical universe, to carry out our experiments in free will. We demanded, God responded, and so laws were set up. And He said to us that heaven is my throne and earth is my footstool. We live in the footstool kingdom. Here, man is supreme. And the only time God is supreme is when you say to God, not my will, but thine be done. Send me help. Help me, God. Send your angels. I cannot deal with this problem. It takes the call, the prayer, for God to set aside what you have set in motion and to say, all right, you've gotten yourself into a jackpot. You've created this human problem. You're asking for help. I will intercede. God intercedes in many ways. He sends light for immediate protection through his angels. Or he may send you a teacher and a teaching and a path so you can untangle the knots that you have created. Now you see, if God would interfere with our free will, we have a little baby, we have allowed ourselves to be neglectful, the baby wanders near the fire. That baby is our responsibility. If we don't grab that baby is going to be burned. Now, unfortunately, this is the consequence of free will. God doesn't give free will and snatch it back, give free will and snatch it back. Continents have sunk because of the misuse of free will. Devastating wars have taken place. Millions of people have lost their lives. All kinds of calamities have occurred. Because once we agree and ask for free will, then not until we say, nevertheless, Father, not my will, but thine be done, do we say, God, now you are in authority in my life. Well, you know, there are many people who say, well, I give Jesus my life, do anything you want to do with my life, Jesus. But the first time they want to do something, they take it back and say, well, I'm going to go out and do this thing now because this is what I want to do. So God established covenants. Most of the covenants that God made from the beginning have been compromised or broken. Covenant with Eden, then after Eden, the covenant of Noah, then the covenant of Abraham, and they go all the way down to the present. And a covenant is, God says, I will do this for you if you will be obedient to me and love me and keep my commandments. That's a covenant, it's an agreement. And so when we break the agreement, we cut off the interchange, the flow. It's a two-way street. God is the giver, we're giving in return. All of a sudden we don't comply, and there is no longer a two-way street. And so Jesus said it again. He said, those who love God and love me and keep my commandments, the Father and the Son will come and dwell with them. There are laws governing your body. If you violate them, your body suffers, and you know it. There are laws governing the mind, the soul, the spirit, all planes of your being. And so you have to put yourself in the driver's seat. It's the age of accountability. You look at yourself in the mirror and you say, I see what I'm seeing, I don't like it, and I want to change. I don't like my disposition, I don't like the way I look unhealthy, I don't like the way I speak to my wife or my husband or my children, I don't like the fact that I'm not doing well enough in my job, and so forth and so on. We look at ourselves and we say, I created myself, I can uncreate what I don't like, I can change. So this is all what we're talking about in healing. If you're here for me to make a healing call for you, it's because you want something changed. You have created it, and you desire the intercession, my intercession, and the presence of God with you to change that back to where it should be. But what is your reason? Your reason must be to glorify God in your temple and to serve Him in one another. Your reason for seeking the altar of God must not be selfish so you can enjoy another 10 years of pleasure and self-indulgence in that body. The reason must be the greater desire for union with God for a purpose, and that is to heal the world and to be an instrument of that healing to all people. So to make a long story short, this path of the Ascended Masters is the path where you see the totality of the goal of your life, where you truly do not desire to have in your being those things that are unholy, where you recognize the fact that you were not meant to dwell in the physical octave forever, that this is not a permanent state of being, that you are destined to be the manifestation of God, to be with your twin flame, that there are galaxies and octaves and spiritual universes of creativity where we belong, and that we are living in a world where many people suffer because evil still has been a choice that some have taken, namely the fallen angels. If there is free will, you have to reckon with the fact that some people are going to use that free will to take God's light and use it against other people. We live in this equation. Those who deny it are ostriches with their head in the sand, because you cannot look at what is taking place on earth and what has been taking place for centuries without realizing that there are some people walking around who do not desire to glorify God in their bodies and in their members. So the consequence of this is that millions of people are enslaved, ignorant to the fact that they are being used and manipulated. Therefore, my desire in being whole in myself, my desire to find the greatest strength and the greatest ability that I can, is to work the works of God to rescue His little children, the little people of this world who are bowed down in an economic treadmill, who have to pay their taxes, who have to submit to a system, and when you look at their week day in, day out, they scarcely have an hour to themselves beyond their jobs. They're taking care of their children and making enough money to keep a car and keep what is necessary in life. So lifetime after lifetime we're on this treadmill and we're still in the Egyptian bondage. Something is wrong. God didn't will it so, neither did you, neither did I, but we're submitting. We're allowing it to happen. We're standing by and participating in it. So I think that there's a great need for freedom, a great need for the liberation of people on earth in a spiritual way and in a totality. You know, Jesus rebuked those who came to Him merely for the bread and the fishes. They came for the miracles, they came for the bread to eat, and He said, you should labor not for this bread, but labor for the bread of life. And then He gave His great sermon, I am the bread of life, which came down from heaven. And the bread that He offers us is the assimilation of the Word unto eternal life. Now, none of us is supposedly going to get out of this world except through the change called death. None of us here can, by our own bootstraps, ascend to heaven. We can't break the mold of our limitation. We are confined. We're confined by the law of our karma. And yet, with us is the omnipotence of God, the full power of the I Am Presence and the Christ Self that is our true immortality. And inside of us, divested of this form, we know that our spirit and our consciousness is immortal. It has dwelt forever with God from the beginning and shall forevermore dwell. I will not chide you if you desire to have a suffering that you are bearing alleviated. As my daughter was saying recently, in the very difficult question we were speaking of, it was a question of abortion, and which side of the offense should we be on, and what should we take when it comes to 12 and 14-year-old girls who come home pregnant. And it is quite a difficult and challenging question when we understand the sacredness of life. And so in the face of all of these questions and all of these dilemmas that people face in their lives and the burdens that come upon them, she said to me, not being able to figure it out, she said, well, what's God for? Isn't He supposed to help us? And I thought it was quite sweet, because in her desperation she knew the only solution to this most difficult social problem would come from God Himself. And so you have a right to say, what's God for? Isn't He supposed to help me? And He is supposed to help me. He is supposed to help you, and He will. I simply would like to turn your hearts to the highest goal and the great awareness of the historical stream and the realization that you have been through much on this planet for many lifetimes, And only you can decide to step apart from that ceaseless round and be free and truly walk the earth in the dignity of your own Christhood and begin to feel that you are actually contributing to the acceleration of a planet into a physical golden age. I trust that the Ascended Master's teachings which we have brought to you will mean for you as much as they have meant for me. My life has been one of immense gratitude at having been contacted by Saint Germain, of knowing since my early childhood that I had a mission, going from church to church, asking the questions of the ministers, and they would give me their answers, and I would know in my heart that these answers were not complete, and sometimes they were not even true. And so I searched long and talked with God, asked him questions, and I found that God interpreted the scriptures to me in my heart by his Holy Spirit, and that just as a matter of generally living in God, I had an awareness that I came to find out that most people did not have of life and the inner workings of the universe. But the greatest joy of all is to bring to you the very personal presence of beloved Saint Joseph in the person of Saint Germain and his violet flame, because it truly is the liberation of an age. The wars we have had in this century are pointing to a great war. I do not agree that that great war is inevitable. I don't agree that anything that is evil is predestined. I believe we can transmute our karma. We can forestall the darkness. We don't have to submit to it and wait for the day and say Jesus is coming and therefore the war has to happen first and then he will come and then we'll all be resurrected and then we'll go into the millennial age. I think these are unfortunate formulas that deprive us of realizing that we can make a difference and we can work change. And the violet flame and the Holy Spirit upon earth gives us the freedom not to have to submit to these dire circumstances of prediction. If there is free will, then how can there be absolute predestination? We should all be locked into a mathematical formula and march to our destiny as little robots. The fact that there is free will means at any moment the power of God in our lives can change that which seems to be the downward course of events. I would like to explain that the purpose of your coming forward is so that I can place my hands upon you. I would like to place my right hand over the forehead in this manner, over the third eye, the left hand at the base of the brain. And with these two contact points, the right hand is the focus of Alpha, the left of Omega. And so it's a complete circuit of the light from my I Am Presence and yours, and the healing masters who are with us, Archangel Raphael and beloved Jesus and Mother Mary and Saint Germain and so forth. Now, when you come forward, you can state to me your problem. When I look at you, I am looking through the consciousness of the Master who sees the problem. The reason for your stating it is that when you state what you desire to be delivered of, you are really stating in the profound sense of the word that you desire to surrender the cause of that condition and cease engaging your energies in what has caused it. You desire to have the record of the origin of that karma from 10 embodiments ago be cast into the violet flame. You truly want to be free of this burden to serve the Lord all the days of your life. So, unless you speak what it is you desire, you are not using the spoken word to confirm before the altar of God that you are surrendering, you are making a commitment to enter anew into the covenants of your God and to do His will. So what I'm saying is, unless you speak what the problem is, it will not be taken from you, because the taking from you of that problem is a violation of your free will, unless by the spoken word you pronounce you are done with it and you place it upon the altar of God and you desire to be healed.
You've been watching The Coming Revolution in Higher Consciousness with Elizabeth Clare Prophet. The preceding public access program has been presented through the assistance of Church Universal and Triumphant, Box A, Malibu, California, 90265. If you would like to know more, call this number or write this address.